Okay, let's talk about 2024. I am so excited to talk about this. This is something that I've been talking about for weeks now. And I just have this feeling that next year is going to be a great year. And it's not just because of the numerology, which we're going to get to, but also it's just a feeling that I have. Um, I think that coming from all these years, from 2020, it was it was a dark time, really, for humanity. We had to go through the dark night of the soul, if you want to call it that way, or some darkness or a tunnel. And we had to learn a lot about ourselves. And if we go back into the numerology of those years, we can see that there was the 5 of changes, then there was the 6 of coming together as community, as humanity, really. We had to really work together to make it through. And so that was happening in 2020, 2021, 2022, right? And then this year, 2023, was about taking all of that, everything that happened in this past 3 years, 4 years, and take it inside. Really going inside, introspection and meditation, and just getting inside your little bubble, going into your essence and asking yourself, what did I learn? What did I learn? Oh, there's my dog right there. What made me stronger? What was important for me in these past years? And that is something that is very important for this process that we're going to do, because as we're stepping into 2024, which is an year 8, it's all about abundance. It's all about infinite possibilities. It's all about materialize and just getting deserving what we really want. To me, it's this whole process that I look at here that I love, and I think it was very hard. I'm not denying that. It was very, very tough, individually and as humanity and as a collective. There was a lot happening, but we had to go through that so that we could be at this point, which I think and I feel like it is the end of the tunnel. Basically, it's as we're getting into it closer to 2024, it's like we're seeing the light. Finally, the light is there. And then we're going to step into 2025, which is going to be a big change. And we're going to talk about that when that moment comes. But what I'm saying here is the line, the process that we've been together in 2023, more like an individual. That process, it was more like, okay, I'm going to bring this inside, be in my little cave, in my little bubble in here, connecting with myself, connecting with my source. And then once I do that, once I learn everything about this past few years, I can take that into a year 8. Because 8, it's not just about abundance and prosperity and money and all those things. It's about materializing, co-creating, aligning yourself with what you truly want and you truly deserve. And the thing is that in order to do that, we have to know what we really want. And that's the reason why I named my last book that way, because in order to materialize and create and align yourself with what you really want, first you need to know what you want. I know it sounds very simple, very silly, but it's true. You need to know what you really want. And that's another video. That could be another seminar if you want. But one of the pieces to really know what we want It's to know ourselves. It's to know who I am. And that's this whole process of this last few years helped us to do that. It helps us to see who we really are, what we really want, what I want in my life, more of that, and what I don't want in my life. And that happened a lot with some families and couples that unfortunately separated during the pandemic because they realized this is not what I really want. And or this is not the job I really want. And so that had to happen. Unfortunately, sometimes in order to know what we really want, we need to first have a taste of what we don't want. Like when you're tasting cakes or ice cream, you get a sample and then you say, oh no, that's not for me. But you have to keep going until you find the one that really sits well with you. So the same thing happened in this process. We were faced with things to see if that's what we really wanted to keep or have more or have less of that, so that we can be here in this moment facing 2024 and say, okay, now I know myself enough. I don't think that we really know ourselves completely. It's a process, but I know myself enough. I know more, or I know better what I want and what I deserve. And with that, I can step into materializing and co-creating and aligning myself with those things. Now it can be material things, like things in the 3D, like this microphone here that I can touch, that I can see. It can be also health. It can be also a partner, a job, a business, pregnancy. It can be so many things, really. Abundance, it's about anything that you can imagine. That's basically what it is. It's not just money or winning the lottery. And so that's what I really want to focus on right now. This was more like the intro of where are we coming? Because I think it's important to know that all that process led us to this moment. And then how do I really use and take advantage of this energy that we're going to be all as a collective? We're going to be under this energy in 2024, which is the abundance and the infinite possibilities. So how do I do that? And I want to talk about a spiritual teacher that I've been working with. Sorry about that. I had to take my dog outside because he decided to bark at the neighbor while I was recording this. And so I was saying that I've been connecting and reading and watching a lot of videos of this spiritual teacher that some call a great American mystic. And it's Neville Goddard. So I have one of his books here, which is the complete works of Neville Goddard. And I was introduced to him by another spiritual teacher of mine, Wayne Dyer. And what Neville talks about is the power of imagination. I know it sounds a bit like, yeah, what is that? But if you really think about it, a lot of great minds and visionaries in this world talked about that. Talked about Albert Einstein and Walt Disney and John Lennon. And they talked about the amazing power of imagination. So Neville says it's not just to make us feel better, but it's actually the tool for creation. That is when we connect to God, when we're using our imagination, we're connecting to the creator power itself, basically. That is how we can shape our world, and that is how we can bring things into materializing and coming into the 3D. It's through imagination. So that is the first step, is to use your imagination in a way that brings you what you really want. Now, we probably imagine a lot unconsciously. So we're imagining things that maybe we don't really want. We're imagining bad scenarios or something bad happening to someone. And so we're constantly using our creator power, but probably not in the best way. So what Neville says is that if we master this beautiful tool, that we can really live the way we want to live in all senses, in all ways, and with prosperity and with health and being feeling good, really. So that is the next step of imagination. So it's not just about, oh, I want to, I imagine and I visualize this red car outside my door. It's not just about that. Neville says you have to live, feel it, and think from the end. And what that means is that when we imagine something, let's say winning the lottery, that's the end of the dream, the vision, right? When we win the lottery, when we get the money. So he says, think from the end, meaning if we're here, not having the lottery yet, and we're still here, there's this gap, there's still this not here, this is not here yet, that lack still there. So he says, just move and think from the end. Ask that, like if that had happened already. It's like when you move to here or bring this to here, however you want to see it, you bring it to your present moment. And that's how it happens, because he says, when you think from the end, when you place yourself in the desired outcome and you live from it and you think from it and you make decisions from it and you just embody completely that state, it cannot, he says, it cannot not happen. It has to happen. It's a law. It has to happen. If you truly embody, believe, and feel whatever it is that you really want, it will happen. The only obstacle to this is ourselves, of course. Our beliefs, our resistances, our own doubt. And I know it's hard because we're so used to the 3D things that we can touch, things that we can see, like this microphone. So if I don't see it, if I don't touch it, it's not here, right? And that's what we were taught. And probably some parts of us are accustomed to think that way. If I don't touch it, it's not here. But the reality is that there's so much that we don't see in the energy world, in the energy and vibrational world, that in order for that to come physically, we need to believe that it's there first. So this is a very small example, but I know that this has happened to many of you. It has happened to me, and it happens more and more often. The other day, and I'm not wearing them right now. I decided last minute to use these, but I've been wanting to use more hoops, and I just thought, that's it. I love them. Usually they're very big and heavy, and that's why I stopped using them, even though I really like them. But I was like, well, there might be some that are not that heavy, that I don't feel like they're pulling on my ear, and I would like to start wearing hoops. And I just thought that in my head, and I thought, well, I'm just gonna look at some hoops at some point. Well, this year, since October that I started thinking about that, 2 people have given me hoops. To totally different people. They didn't talk to each other, didn't agree or anything like that. And so I have two sets of hoops now. And they're not heavy, they're quite light and small, which is perfect. So this is just a very silly and simple example of how these things can happen, because sometimes we doubt in the way, like, how is a car going to materialize in my driveway? That's not possible, right? That's our head, that's our a belief system stepping in to protect us and say it's not possible. But for example, this year we bought a car, and the other car that we had, it's too old. It still works, but it's too old to sell. And so we just gave it to my in-laws who needed a car. So for them, imagine what it was like to wake up one day and being offered a car out of nowhere, right? And so that's how it happens. When your mind starts thinking, how can it happen? It does happen. You just have to align and put yourself in that vibration so that it happens, so that it comes to you. The how and the when, it's not our job. We don't have to worry about that. I don't have to worry about how that car is going to get to my driveway, or how that healing is going to take place, or how this microphone that I've been thinking about is going to appear. I don't have to think about that. That's not my job. My job is to remove all the obstacles in my head, in my body, in my trauma, in my family system. It's to open myself, to know that I deserve, to believe that I deserve, and then to place myself with the tool of imagination as if I already had those things, or as if I already had a partner, or I was pregnant, or other examples with that would be, if I want to have a child, why not start buying baby's clothes? And so again, the mind would say, well, I don't have a baby yet. Why am I buying all these things? But I'm placing myself from the end. I'm placing myself of in the moment that is really happening. So if I was really pregnant, I would probably be buying baby's clothes. So I start by living in that state. Same with a partner. And I did this personally. And so that I know that it works. And I wrote about this in my last book. And it's about aligning yourself with the person that you really want and really deserve. And for years, I started talking to my husband. I know that sounds very crazy, but I started talking to my husband, and in my head, I would go to bed and say to him what happened in my day, just like I would in real life. I started to tell him, like, oh, this happened and that happened. And I would ask him to take care of himself so that we could meet one day, and, things like that. Talking to him like he was already there, feeling in my body what it was to be in a relationship. I was not anymore in a state of being single. I was in a state of, and I was feeling like I was in a partnership. And then the story about how I met him, it's in the book, and it's a bit longer, but it happened in a very funny, curious way that, it's almost impossible, but it happened. And I also talk about putting the ring on my finger. Long before I met him, I put a ring on my finger to symbolize that I was committed to the relationship, committed to him. And so I was feeling it. I was feeling and literally physically feeling the ring that was going to be there at some point, that is there now. So that's how we use our imagination at its greatest. That's what Neville says. If you place yourself, feel, think, even make decisions from that point, it has no other option but to happen. And so the tool is very beautiful. It's something that we can all do. I know that sometimes there's fear also about what if I materialize or attract things that I don't want? And what I explain about that is that vibration has different frequencies, And the frequency of fear is very low, very slow as well to materialize. So what we just bring more to ourselves is more fear, not necessarily the cancer that we're dreading or the stroke that we're dreading. It's not about that. And the vibration of gratefulness and gratitude and love and compassion and joy are higher and faster. And that's why they materialize and they bring more of that faster than fear, for example. So Neville Goddard, if you want to explore more about him, I do recommend, especially for this 2024, because it is the energy that is always there for us, but especially for next year, which is also a dragon year in the Chinese horoscope. If you also want to look that up, dragon is good luck. It's also abundance and prosperity. So I feel like it's going to be a great year, combining the energy of the eight, combining the dragon, combining that we're coming out of this dark process that really tested us as humanity, as an individuals, and also taking advantage of this tool that we all have. Imagination is there for us, and so just using that to really materialize and align yourself with what you really want and what you really deserve. I hope this helps and that you have a wonderful 2024.